So what does this all start over? Has this been ongoing forever, or is this all of a sudden happened last night?
For a long time. So I came to live with her after my dad died, and since then, there's just been kind of times when things boil over with her, and she acts out. One time she put a gun on me. I called the cops.
Welcome back, and thanks for being here. I'm Cassie, and this is A Wicked World. Now, the story I have for you today is the complete opposite of the stories that I normally tell you about. Because in this instance, it was a child who killed his mother and his father. This is the story of Catherine Griffith. Catherine Ann Willantis Griffith, or Kathy for short, was born on September 4th, 1985, in Texas to her mother, Susan Detman, and her father, Robert Willantis, and she had 3 siblings. In 2000, Kathy had gotten married to Charles Robert Griffith, and the two lived in Oklahoma together. The couple also had 2 sons named Colin and Christopher. Then, once Kathy and Charles split up and filed for divorce in 2019, 11-year-old Colin would continue living with his father while Kathy moved to Florida. Christopher, who was 20 at the time, no longer lived in the home. In their divorce records, Kathy would claim that Charles had been abusive towards her for years. This would also later be confirmed by law enforcement. Now, the parents were supposed to share custody of Colin, but Charles began keeping his son from seeing his mother. So in August of 2022, Kathy filed with the courts asking for sole custody, saying that Colin had been kept from her since December of 2019. During the last call that she had with her son, he had begged his mother to let him come live with her. Kathy also stated that at that point, things had gotten so bad in Charles's home that he wouldn't even let their son Colin leave to go to school. The mother additionally asked the court to order Charles to take Colin to therapy, saying that he might have already suffered emotional irreparable harm due to his father's parental alienation and emotional abuse. Charles would respond back to these claims, saying that Colin did not want to see his mother, as Katherine had been mentally and emotionally unstable during these times and had been using drugs and alcohol. The father additionally said that he had stopped all communication between Kathy and Colin in May of 2020, after the mother had texted her son a handwritten suicide note. Charles also accused his ex-wife of only calling when she was manic, and said that she had posed as an adult male on Discord in an attempt to get their son to run away from home. Then, on February 14th, 2023, 911 would be called to the home where Colin lived in Stroud, Oklahoma with his father. The then 15-year-old had shot his father twice, once in the head and once in the chest. Colin's initial account was that he had killed his dad in self-defense. He claimed that during an argument, his dad had pulled a knife on him, then chased him through the home. Eventually, he cornered Colin in a bedroom, which forced the 15-year-old to grab a gun and fire. No one else was in the home at that time. However, as the investigators began to comb through the crime scene, they started to notice that there were details that did not match up with the teen's story. And further attempts to gain any extra information from Colin only resulted in him repeatedly invoking his Fifth Amendment right to an attorney. So since the physical evidence was telling a different story than that of self-defense, Colin was arrested and charged with his father's murder. Shortly after, Kathy would come to her son's rescue, bailing him out of jail on his $50,000 bond. She then took him back to live with her at her home in Port Charlotte, Florida. About a month later, the charges against Colin would end up being dropped because police did not have enough evidence to prove that he had not killed his father in self-defense. Kathy was not afraid to have him live with her, however. In fact, she was very excited to have Colin home again. She felt like she had missed out on so much over the past few years, and now they could make up for that time. Katherine soon started sharing multiple posts on social media where she gushed about her son, and put up pictures of the many trips that they had taken together, as well as the new car that she had bought him as a graduation gift. But this was only hiding just how troubled the mother and son's relationship actually was. Once Colin had been living with his mother Kathy for about 6 months, on September 11th, 2023, a concerned school officer from Colin's college would ask that a welfare check be done on Kathy and Colin. This was due to Colin making a shocking claim while he was attending the Florida school, saying that his mother had pulled a gun on him during an argument. According to Colin, Kathy had pointed the gun directly at him before saying that she was either going to shoot him, herself, or both of them. In the end, she just gave Colin the gun and told him to shoot her. When authorities went to speak with Kathy, she adamantly denied these accusations. She said that the conflict had just been a typical teen-parent disagreement that had come after she had taken Colin's phone and AirPods from him due to his failing grades. Kathy additionally added that her son had a personality disorder and PTSD, which had happened due to the fact that he was held captive by his father for 1,041 days with no human contact. The mother would also tell authorities that at that point, things in the home were bad between her and her son. He had not only threatened self-harm, but he had also threatened her, and his behavior was scaring Kathy. Ultimately, the officers would end up taking the mother's word for what had happened, and Colin was placed into protective custody for a mental health evaluation under the Baker Act. Now, Colin was scheduled to stay in this facility for 8 days. Then he was to be released back into Kathy's custody. However, he would end up staying even longer after he told staff members that he would kill his mother if he was released. He reportedly told staff, speaking about his mother and grandmother who lived nearby, "I will kill myself or my mom, throw them out of the car, shoot them or stab them. I've done it before to my dad. I know I can do it again." Colin would even go on to say that he'd rather be placed in foster care or in jail than go back to living with his mom, whom he was scared of. From this mental health facility, Colin would then be placed in a long-term mental health facility in Jupiter, Florida, where he spent a little more than a month before then returning back to live with his mother again. Not long after, in November of 2023, Colin was charged with DV against his mother, after he had attacked her, pulling her hair and kneeing her in the groin. When police arrived at the home, Colin appeared to be quite calm, but Kathy, on the other hand, was nervous, quiet, and scared of her son. She also had redness and bruising on her stomach from where Colin had kicked her and kneed her. Kathy would tell the authorities that her son had become very upset after she had taken his phone and his Xbox, so he had attacked her. But according to Colin, his mother had actually been the one to punch him in the face first. However, there was no redness or bruising on him. So again, he was trying to claim that he had only attacked his mother out of self-defense.
We sat down and we ate, and she started talking to me about how a bunch of really bad shit. And then when I got up and was like, you can't just do that, and she was telling me to shut up, she hit me in the face, and then I reacted like this. She grabbed onto me, I hit her in the stomach, and then I'm a wrestler. It was just reactive. Grabbed her. She got to the ground. I grabbed the phone. I started recording, and then I left. Okay, that's it.
So she hit you in the face?
Yeah.
It's Catherine Griffith, right? And then 9485.
Yes.
Okay. So I heard EMS is coming to check out your hand. Okay.
And
Let me.
right here, because he kicked me.
Okay. Hey, can I see your hand? Okay.
He kicked the phone out of my hand as I was trying to record it. I was on the ground.
Ultimately, Colin would end up being taken to jail and charged with DV. Body cam footage taken during the incident shows him in the back of the police cruiser talking to his grandmother.
Got to get your anger under control, okay? I'm saying prayers for you all the time, Colin. I love you.
Mama. I think my anger's fine. It's just that when someone attacks me, I don't know.
What? I can't hear you. What?
No.
Do you think your anger's fine?
Yes, it's just when someone attacks me, that's all I act.
That didn't happen, though. I was there. I saw it. I saw you stand up. And I said, sit down, and you wouldn't. And you went after the phone. And the next thing I know, she's on the floor. And I'm trying to get in between you all, and I'm trying to call Rennis.
No, she's with me. She grabbed onto me. I leave her, and then I got her to the ground, and then wrestling me, and then I ran.
I didn't see that, Colin. I really didn't. All I saw was you on the ground, or her on the ground, and you by her. And you guys fighting for the phone. So how did she get on the ground?
It's because I moved her on the ground. I wrestled her on the ground, and she got on me.
Why did you stand up? And why did you say?
So we're just trying to have a face-to-face conversation.
No, you didn't. You stood up and said, okay, let's do it. Let's do it. Yes, you did. I was there.
I was saying, no, I'm not a psychopath. I'm not this murderer. I'm just trying to peacefully leave or peacefully coexist and just figure something out. And she kept telling me to shut up and shut up. And when I wouldn't shut up, she hit me.
No, that's not what happened, Colin. That's not what happened. You never said you wanted to peacefully coexist.
I've been saying that.
Colin would end up being released the very next day, and despite his pleas, he was sent to live back with Kathy yet again. Only hours later, police were once again back out at the home, after they had received information from jail staff saying that Colin had told them that if he was released and had to get in the car with his mother, he would kill her. When deputies confronted Colin about these alleged threats, he said that while he had not wanted to return home that day, he did not say that he was going to kill his mom. However, he would end up being taken back into custody.
All right.
Yes, sir.
So what's going on, man?
Last night, me and my mom went to a physical altercation. I got arrested for domestic battery, but going in front of a judge today, I have a right to a public defender, and we'll see how that goes.
Okay. So how is the situation with you and mom right now? Have things calmed down? Are you guys able to get along? Where are we at?
No, sir. It's not good. She thinks that I beat the shit out of her. I don't. She thinks that I'm like psychotic, like literally psychopath, sociopath, something like that. I don't know exactly where she's at. She thinks I'm gonna kill her. I want to kill her, or that I want to beat the shit out of her.
Do you?
No, sir.
Okay.
I don't want to hurt anyone, let alone my mom, even despite this happening, but I'm not going to take what I consider abuse when someone's attacking me. And
how is she attacking you? What kind of abuse are we talking?
When she attacked me. When she threw a punch at me and grabbed on me, I grabbed onto her back. I got her off of me, she hit the ground, and then I fled and called Rentis, and then he sent someone out.
You called who?
Rentis, Detective Rentis.
Okay.
Did you make any statements saying that you were going to kill
No,
your
sir.
mom if you got in the car with her?
No, sir.
I'm trying to figure out why we would have a corporal at the jail that took you out, that dropped you off your mom and telling us that you said, don't put me in the car with her, I'm going to kill her.
Yeah,
Was that said?
I did not say I was going to kill her. I did not say kill. I don't know why he sent me back here. I asked him not to, but he said he didn't like my attitude and that I had to just work on it. And he sent me back here. But his words, not mine.
Okay. Well, we're just trying to figure out. We just want to make sure we do everything we can to prevent anything happening.
Sir, given the situation, I don't think that we should be in the same house at all. I don't think it's okay. I mean, we're going to court anyways at 1. God knows what's going to happen then.
How are you getting to court?
By car.
Do you drive? How old are you?
Yeah, but I have to have an adult in the car with me.
You got a learner's permit?
Yeah. She's been trying to lure a confession out of me all day. Well, it's not. Sorry, not all day.
Does this all start over? Has this been ongoing forever, or is this all of a sudden happened last night?
For a long time. So I came to live with her after my dad died, and since then, there's just been kind of times when things boil over with her, and she acts out. One time, she put a gun on me. I called the cops. I guess I wouldn't believe.
What got her to the point that she's doing these things?
I don't know.
You have no idea. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, she pulls a gun or hit you?
It's because that I I'm driving her crazy somehow with the way that I act, and I don't know how I'm acting badly. She talks about school a lot. My grades are fine. I got a 3.7 GPA.
Okay. I mean, obviously you're not, you're smart enough kid. I get that or whatever, but I mean, obviously it takes two to create this type of environment in this situation, right? And I've heard nothing. You haven't said a word about what's going on, what you're doing, or what is going on to provoke this, or where it's coming from, other than out of the blue, your mom flies off the handle and does this stuff. I'm struggling with that a little bit.
She claims that because I don't help around the house, don't seem to follow rules. A big thing for her is that I don't make a schedule. I don't schedule my day. She has ADHD and a lot of other stuff.
A few months later, in February of 2024, Colin ran away from Kathy's home, and he went to his grandmother's house in Auburndale, Florida. His grandmother had then contacted authorities telling them that she did not feel safe with Colin there. And so he was turned over to the Department of Children and Families at that point. 2 days later, he was returned to Kathy. Apparently, once again, he said that he did not want to go home and would use force if he had to, including killing his mom. Then, months later, on September 8th, 2024, around 6 p.m., police were called out to Kathy's mother's home, Susan's home in Auburndale. The grandmother hadn't been there, however. She was actually out of town at her second home in the Florida Keys. But Colin had run there again in an attempt to get away from Kathy. It was the 17-year-old who had also called 911 that day. He reported that he had been in a fight with his mother, who had lunged at him with a knife. But when she had, Kathy had accidentally fallen, and she had fallen directly onto the blade, which resulted in a stab wound to her neck. When police arrived, they would find a blood-covered Colin, and he was rather calm and collected given the circumstances. He told police officers right away, "I know my rights. I want an attorney." His mother, Kathy, was lying dead on the floor from a massive stab wound to her neck. The injury was so vicious that first responders said that they could see the floor right through it. She also had a stab wound to her hand. Now, even though her son had claimed that he had done this, yet again, in self-defense, once Kathy's autopsy was completed, it was discovered that that could not be the case. The deep, penetrating knife injury that had ended her life could not have been caused by an accident. Additionally, the home where Kathy and Colin were supposedly said to have had this big, long argument and struggle was still neat and orderly, and there was no signs of any struggle. Detectives had also spoke with witnesses who said that about 2 hours prior to the police arriving, they had seen Colin and Kathy outside. Kathy had just arrived at the home, and once she did, the two began arguing. Then, Colin grabbed his mother by the hair and dragged her inside. Kathy was pleading with her son at the same time to please let her go. Colin was arrested and charged with first-degree murder and kidnapping. As bad as the mother and son's relationship had previously been, it had only worsened in the days leading up to Kathy's murder. There were text messages from Kathy to Colin saying that she was going to shut off his phone, cancel his car insurance, sell his car, and even pull him out of school. Then, there'd been the ultimatums that the mother was giving him to complete his household chores. In a text message that she had sent to her son the same day that she would be murdered, around 12:30, Kathy told Colin that she was going to pass along information that she had about his dead father if he didn't help her mount a bookshelf. Additionally, Kathy told Colin that he was violating his probation by being at his grandmother's house that day, probation that he was supposed to be off on October 6th. One of the last things that the Ring video doorbell footage from the grandmother's home shows that day was Kathy telling her son to get in the car and follow her, or she was going to call the cops on him. Kathy had written in a text message to her son saying, "Colin, the recordings of you admitting to killing your father and planning the murder, there are 4 different instances from my Ring camera, are all going to Bob, Susie, Chris, and Amanda at 3 p.m. today." She continued by writing, "Plus, the recovered audio from Chuck's iCloud, where you told your dad you hated me and I was an evil bitch, are being sent too. My dad is sending me his recordings of how you told him that you were planning my murder back in February. All because you did not want to help me mount a bookshelf. The comment that Kathy made about her dad sending her some recordings was because a few months prior, Colin had told his grandfather, "I keep thinking over and over, more than anything else, I want to slit her throat and feel her bleed out. And feel the life leave her body. That's how much I hate her." Colin would go to trial for his mother's murder in early 2025, where he was tried as an adult. The teen's defense was arguing that he had to defend himself against his mother, Kathy, and there was no evidence to show that she had been inside the home against her will. They then said that Kathy was violent and manipulative, and at one point she had fabricated a story that Colin had strangled her. Colin's lawyer claimed that the mother often instigated arguments, was estranged from her family, and struggled with a drinking and pill problem. They even tried to say that it was plausible that Kathy had wanted to die by suicide by son. The prosecution, on the other hand, was trying to paint Catherine Griffith as a spoiled child, as his family had taken him on many vacations, including cruises, had bought him a cell phone, an Xbox, and would frequently buy him Starbucks. However, the teen would get furious if his mother asked him to do any chores, such as taking the trash out. During the trial, Colin's grandmother, Kathy's mother, Susan Detman, would take the stand and say that she loved her grandson and did not want to see him go to prison. She also did not believe that he murdered Kathy.
Now, I mean, this is an obvious question, but you love your grandson, correct?
Yes.
Your daughter is dead, clearly.
Yes.
And she's not coming back, correct?
No.
Now, would you agree that you don't want to see the defendant have to go to prison for a very long time? Is that correct?
I don't want to see my grandson go to prison for something he didn't do.
All right. Well, you couldn't make it any more crystal clear that you're up there and all your answers that you've given have been driven by you believing that the defendant, your grandson, didn't murder your daughter, correct?
I am giving clear answers, sir, as to what happened. I know my daughter. That's why I didn't want her coming that day to the house without me being there. I wanted her to wait the next day so that maybe she could calm down a little bit.
You know your grandson too, correct?
Yes.
And you know his history, correct?
Yes.
Now, you say you know what happened, but you weren't there when it happened.
No, I'm not saying that I know what happened. I know the possibility of what could have happened. I wasn't there, so I have no way of knowing. I just know the facts about Kathy, having lived with her and worked with her, even to try to maintain her sanity, to try to maintain that she could keep her job as a teacher, to try to maintain that she wasn't trying to slice herself and kill herself, and not coming after my husband with a gun.
Susan went on to testify that her grandson had stayed with her for a few weeks in January of 2024, and during that time, his mother had forgotten where he was. Susan would go on to speak about how her daughter Kathy had a long history of lying and claimed that she'd even been violent towards Colin, saying that she would beat him with a belt, make him do excessive push-ups, and have him hold a weight over his head while he ran in place. The grandmother also recalled a dinner conversation in which Kathy had threatened to take away Colin's phone and Xbox, which had resulted in Colin getting very angry and wanting to fight his mother. One time, the teen had even taken a small kitchen blade from Susan's home, but she said that he told her he needed it. Later that same day, Kathy would say that she feared for her life. Kathy's father, Robert Willantis, would also take the stand during the trial and testify. He said that Kathy had told him that Colin had threatened her and her mother with killing them, but she still maintained that she wanted to have a relationship with her son and welcomed him into her home. A police officer would even testify and say that she had spoken with Colin, who had told her that he had two different personas, Colin 1 and Colin 2. Colin 1 just wants to survive, and Colin 2 protects him and kills for him. She said that she heard Colin say that Colin 1 would let him kill his mom too. But regardless of this testimony, after less than only 12 hours of deliberation, the jury would come back and find Colin not guilty on his charge of murder and kidnapping.
To count one, the defendant is not guilty. As to count two, the defendant is not guilty.
With an embrace from his defense team, Colin Griffith learned he will not be a convicted murderer.
A celebration of life was held for Catherine Griffith on Friday, September 13th, 2024, at Lakeland Funeral Home in Lakeland, Florida, and she was then cremated. While I don't think that it was right at all that Colin killed his mother since it was not in self-defense, I also feel like the emotional abuse and the isolation that his father was putting him through, as well as the manipulation and possible alleged physical punishments that his mother was putting him through. Colin did not stand much of a chance of having a normal childhood, but he should have been put into intensive therapy. Even if Colin did have a completely justified reason to have killed his mother in his mind, he still killed her. He took the law into his own hands. He should never have been found as not guilty, because now he's learned that killing someone is a way to solve a problem. So he is very likely going to do it again, since he's gotten away with it twice. What do you think about this case? So if you like true crime and you want to hear it from me, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button below and turn on your notifications too, so you'll know when I upload a new video, which is at least 3 times every single week. Thanks for watching A Wicked World today. Until next time, take care guys. Bye. Thank you to all the patrons of A Wicked World. Now, there's even more of A Wicked World on Patreon, so check it out on patreon.com/awickedworld, or use the Patreon app. You'll have access to exclusive videos each month and more. Any support truly helps to make sure the victims are never forgotten, and to highlight the shortcomings of society associated with each case. Do you have a suggestion for a story you'd like to see me cover? If so, send me an email to awickedworldtruecrime@gmail.com.